Pawn to e4. Pawn to c5. Knight to f3. Pawn to e6. Pawn to d4. Pawn to d4. Knight to d4. Knight to c6. Sicilian defense, Taimanov variation. Knight to c3. Queen to c7. Queen to d3, an interesting move. Black to play, what to move? If knight to d4, a obvious move. The queen moved 2 times in a row. Nevertheless, white is not behind development, and the queen is well placed in the center. Pawn to f3 with equality. If knight to f6 is the move preferred by Stockfish. Pawn to a6 was played in the game, preparing a queenside expansion and taking control of the b5 square. Knight to c6. Queen to c6. Bishop to f4. Black to play, what to move? If pawn to b5, in the spirit of playing first on the queenside. King to g1 with equality. Knight to e7 was played in the game. White to play, what to move? If bishop to d6, white can stick a bishop in the d6 hole and paralyze black's kingside development. And white has the advantage. King to c1 was played in the game, preventing the d5 break. Pawn to b5. Pawn to h4, preparing an attack in the case black castles long. Bishop to b7. Pawn to h5. Black to play, what to move? If pawn to b4. Black can't take on e4 because of queen d7 checkmate. And white has the advantage. Rook to d8 was played in the game. Queen to d4, putting pressure on the long diagonal. Black's bishop can't leave the protection of g7. It will be hard to castle. Pawn to f6. Bishop to d6. Knight to c8. Bishop to f8. Rook to f8. Rook to h3, activating the rook via the third rank. Queen to b6. Black tries to decrease white's potential energy with exchanges. Queen to d2. Bishop to c6, defending d7. Rook to e1. Since d7 is well protected, white decides to slide the rook to the e-file and look black's king through x-rays. Stockfish prefers to move the other rook to e3. Queen to c5. Knight to d5, using the pin on the e-file to reroute the knight to a more active square. Black to play, what to move? If bishop to d5, a mistake. And white is better. King to f7 was played in the game. Knight to b4. Bishop to b7. White position is more active, but surprisingly black managed to dodge all the hits. Pawn to h6. Pawn to g6. Pawn to e5. Black to play. What to move? If pawn to e5. Looks wrong because allows white to activate the knight with tempo. Black to play. What to move? If king to g8, a mistake. Pawn to f3, white is winning. If king to e8, black is forced to keep the king in the center. King to g8 was played in the game. Black finally artificially castled on move 21. Knight to d3. Queen to d4. White to play. What to move? If pawn to c3. And white is better. Pawn to g3 was played in the game. The move looks strange at a first glance. It cuts the h3 rook and weakens the light squares. The intention is to prepare an outpost on h4 for the rook. Knight to b6. Rook to h4. Queen to d5. White to play. What to move? If pawn to f6. Pawn to b3 was played in the game, restricting black's knight. Rook to c8. Pawn to f6. Rook to f6. Pawn to c3. So far black defended very well, and he even has more time on the clock. Black to play. What to move? If queen to d6. Bishop to g2 with counterattack. Pawn to d6, a blunder was played in the game, the start of black's collapse. Bishop to h3, pining the e-pawn. Pawn to g5, a mistake. Rook to h5. Black to play. What to move? If king to f8. If rook to g6, a mistake. The g-pawn can't be defended. King to h8, a obvious move was played in the game. Rook to g5. Rook to c3. Black sacks the exchange to complicate the position. King to b2. Queen to d3. Queen to c3. Queen to c3. King to c3. Knight to d5, a obvious move. King to d2. Pawn to e5. Rook to g7. Bishop to c6. Rook to c1. Knight to b4. Pawn to a3, attacking the defender. Black to play. What to move? If rook to h6. Rook to f2 was played in the game. King to e3. Rook to c2. Bishop to e6. And the checkmate on g7 is unstoppable without giving material. A brilliant game by Nordirbek. Black played like Leonard Sugar, sticking his head out, waiting for his opponent to hit, but pulling it back at the right moment. Unfortunately, his position required very precise play and eventually collapsed. On the other hand, White's furious attack was like Mike Tyson, punching the kingside with the h and e pawns, and attacking from all directions.